Hey YouTube world, and hey to my Neville Nation and my other fellow Law of Assumption Journey members. It's me, Neville Girl, coming back to you with another powerful episode. This is about money. I know everybody loves money and they want to talk about SP. So this is going to be a big one, so hang on because I have some very personal stories and a powerful technique that you might have heard of before, but we're going to go over how I manifested really huge results, big chunks of money. So hang tight. So if you're new, welcome to my channel. Feel free to say hello, drop me emoji or hello. Because on this channel, I'm sharing my Law of Assumption dream life journey when I found Neville Goddard and things changed overnight. And this is the other half of the story. I'm sharing the other half of the journey with you. This channel, we make our dreams come true. I have claimed it and it's working for me, and I'm claiming it for you. And I'm going to show you how. How's that? Because we discussed Neville Goddard, quantum physics, and things related. I'm going to share who and what I'm obsessed with, what techniques, processes, just whatever I'm obsessing over right now, where I'm getting fed amazing content. I will hold nothing back. I will tell you what's not working too. I'm sharing it all. So welcome. Let's dive into this huge topic. And I'm just doing this off the cuff because this is related to some large stories. I have been doing a law of attraction, following this stuff for years and years. So I'm sure so many of you can relate. Hit or miss, right? So you're like, how did I do that? And some of you must say you've never been able to do that. So we're here all on YouTube and in these communities to encourage you and share what has worked for us. So I have some huge stories, and then we're going to do a process together because I did one in January and I want to do it with you so you can track your results. But I want you to hear the stories first, okay? Because when I discovered a law of assumption, that's when I learned how to make the law of attraction work for me. Because law of attraction just means like attracts like. So you don't, like Mary Morrissey would say, you don't get who you get what you want, you get who you are, or who you are in alignment with. If you, I just posted a video that describes so much of what we're going to be talking about moving forward on all topics. What the heck is manifesting anyway? So I encourage you, if you haven't seen that, go and watch that because that clarifies everything. Where's your stuff? How do you get in alignment with it? The whole 9 yards. But today is about money. And who doesn't love money? Okay, we all love money. It's money makes the world go round. It makes you happier. Those who say it doesn't make you happier, I mean, not truly, not deep down happiness. That we learn, we should be learning that we create our own love, we create our own happiness, that kind of thing, because everything's a mirror. But those are other topics for different days. But money, it makes your life comfortable. You can express yourself more. You can go amazing places. So money. So I have some stories. So, and this is, like I said, I did the Delulu series and I don't think it got a whole lot of views, but I'm telling you, I have so much experience with this. And it pays to be Delulu, because if you're on the timeline, where do you find, or where are you selecting to be on your timeline on any given topic? And there are times where I've selected, without really understanding what I was doing, I was selecting the version of me in the quantum timelines, in the field of possibilities, that would be considered delusional. And guess what happened? Each time I did it, like all in, and I was just on a kick at the moment, I got money, big money, big money, right? And it's big for wherever you are at the time, and this also ties into the bridge of incidents, because I know it's a Neville term. And I've seen controversy out there like, what does it mean? How do I know? Well, number one, Mary would, and I agree with her, Mary Morrissey would say, asking who, what, where, when, how is not our job. Those are disempowering questions. Just asking who you are as that person and taking some steps from there, or thinking from the end state. Those are empowering things, doing things like that. But other than that, let the universe surprise you. So I'm going to share with you how the universe has surprised me before. And now that I understand quantum physics and timelines and alignment and law of assumption and a bunch of other laws that I'm going to be sharing with you, I'm posting more regularly. If you have been following me along, yes, I have aligned with the version of me that has been posting more videos. So money, let's talk about it. So one of the largest chunks was literally, and okay, let's just say, I will cue this story up for saying it was 2008, real estate crash, everything's going terrible. So if you're thinking analytically, which doesn't help you here at all in this world of law of assumption, the facts don't matter. If you were looking at the facts, you're like, wow, who could create $1 million cash like that? No. I wouldn't have made sense. That wasn't where I was coming from. At the time, I was on a kick. I forgot who I was following at the time or what trains of thought, but I literally got convinced that I could become a millionaire. And I did become a millionaire. And I was actually, and this was maybe 15 years ago, so I was fully retired, don't have to work. No, I still worked. I did. I had passion projects I was working on, and those were making money too. But $1 million cash on the bare head. And it was related to some real estate. No, I'm not a realtor. But due to the circumstances, I'm going to leave a lot out here. But me and my SP at the time had built a large mansion that was an investment mansion. It was meant to be sold. And then boom, everything was crashing. Now, bridge of incidents, that word. And I've heard people say this, so I'm going to say I agree. You can only really see the bridge of incidents hindsight 2020, where the universe was queuing it all up. Because whenever I've had something, and I hate to use the word large, but with the human mind, if you're going to judge something large happened, a huge manifestation, in retrospect, it somehow fit into my world, found a way that in retrospect, it made sense. But if I had asked myself, how? This is impossible. Well, no. Okay. So here was the story. I used to do some landscaping and gardening on the outside of this home because I love landscaping and gardening. And there are these cute little kids in this neighborhood. And it was a very elite neighborhood. I lived right across from this gorgeous waterfall. And so again, we were planning to sell this large mansion. So these little cute kids used to come back by all the time saying hello, watching me work on my projects. And they had one of those like red radial flyers. I mean, these kids were like between the ages of 3 and 8. And I forget how many there were, but they thought I was adorable. I was usually out there in my workout clothes. You go to the gym, hit it, you're still kind of sweaty, just go plant some stuff or move some rocks around. Anyway, so they just had a thing about me. And yes, I've always had kind of like pink lips or whatever, I look good in brighter colors. So they had nicknamed me Pinky the Princess. And the way I found this out is one day I was inside minding my own business, and I get a huge knock on the door because we had one of those door knockers, knock, knock. And this little kids had made me a card saying, "To Pinky the Princess who lives in the castle." Adorable. I love this so much because out of the mouth of babes, that's what they saw. That was their interpretation. Well, I knew that these kids lived at the top of this hill and we were a little more on the bottom. So they were in a little annex of this special neighborhood that we lived in. And anyway, that's a foundation of the story, because everything crashing, everything burning, and SP being a more logical, analyzing, crunching the numbers, like, holy crap, what are we going to do now? We've invested all this money and taken such amazing care. So here's what the universe did for us. Yeah, this is a bridge of incidents, but I really believe you can't see it till the end, but here's what happened. It so happened that these little kids who loved Pinky the Princess, their grandparents were deciding to retire from the East Coast. They had come from banking. They had big money. And they saw that the building I was living in, the mansion I was living in, was for sale at a large ticket price. It was well over $1 million. for asking price. But one day I get another knock, knock, knock at the door, and it's those grandparents. And here's what they said. They're like, hey, we are retiring. We made a lot of money in banking. And guess what? We know that the market's crashing. We know you have this place on the market. We see the dollar amount you're asking for, and we recognize that whatever price we offer you, it could be worth half of that a year or two from now. We don't know where things are going, but I tell you what, we want to live in the neighborhood where our grandkids live. We want to finish our time now that we're retiring with them. That we love this house, we love this neighborhood, we love our grandkids. So take it or leave it, $1 million cash. What say you? Me and SP, we closed that door. We're like, we're gonna think on it. Close the door, and I looked at SP and I was like, you take it. That's $1 million cash. Because no one knew at the time, this was beginning part of the crash, where things were going. And I said, take it, take it. $1 million cash on the barrelhead, take it. But do you see how the universe queued that up? I wasn't in doubt. And I had been in the training of thought that I was indeed going to be a millionaire. SP, who was not really into law of attraction and thought that was kind of woo-woo, he was like, that's kind of crazy talk, but I love you anyway. But guess what? My crazy talk, my delulu thinking, my belief that I could be a millionaire, boom, there it was. And I've been thinking this way for a while. I want to say it was like a year or two as I've gotten to know SP, as we're starting to work on more real estate projects and more things together, whatever. But look what happened. In the worst of circumstances, universe queued this all up. That's one example. Now we are gonna get to another example because I don't wanna make this video too long, but man, if you wanna learn about making money, here's a great process. Now, many of you might have heard of this one before, but I'm gonna show you how, or the steps I took to make this one work, because I got on another kick, okay? So fast forward, and I was reminded about this, so I guess that will kind of remind me, I do wanna do this video. That when I did the Mary Morrissey, they had like the universal check that you fill out as part of the training, because it does work. And we didn't actually get into it a whole lot, I don't think, but they just made it aware that it's something available as a resource. But if you go online to thesecrettv.com or just even Google The Secret Check, looks like this. Yep, there you go. So here's my other story. And now that I know how the law of assumption works, I'm gonna tell it to you the way I was looking at it at the time and what I was doing right to make this work. So I would highly encourage you to go print this out and fill it in. I filled one in again. I thought about it the other day. It's like, I'd like to fill another one of these in. And I don't want to ever encourage or give you an assumption that's a restriction, but I can share that working with a Mary Morrissey a little bit and taking in some of her content, they said always a good rule of thumb to begin, especially if you are a little bit more in alignment with some lack mentality. I would personally say listen to some subliminals that are to do with self-concept, but we're going to get into a whole other video. But they would say, as a rule of thumb, the universe loves being specific. Be very, very specific. Don't be afraid to put a dollar amount, because that's going to go into my story. But when you do this, and if you don't know what number to pick, they would recommend, and I thought this was a good rule of thumb. I'm totally disregarding it because I started delusional, I remain delusional. That's your girl. But they would say, think of the largest dollar amount you've ever made in a year, or the largest chunk you've ever received, and double that. And that's a good starting point. So I would say that is a good recommendation. I'm not going to tell you what my most recent check filled it out for, but I am going to tell you a story about when I filled one out. I actually, and there's a backstory to it too, which will help you make sense. But when I originally came across The Secret, and I was into it again, SP, thinking delulu, and But he also, well, we'll get into that in a minute, but I decided randomly, I picked a random number. When I heard about this check, I was like, you know what? I am going to write down 50, I think it was either $52,000 or $53,000. I don't know where I came up with that number. I just randomly picked it. And part of it at the time is that my SP at the time, that he came from a Christian family that was more like into the word of faith movement. So to me, I see a lot of blending of law of attraction, law of assumption, and Christianity. And as I've discovered over the years, especially if you're following people who really talk about what Neville talked about, or even Joseph Murphy, or many of the OGs at the time, they did refer to the Bible. Because if you took all of the religion out of it, many have seen it as a handbook, a resource for instructions on how to manifest. So moving aside from religion and all, but I'm just telling you the story, how it was, how it happened. I filled that out. Now, when I filled it out, I had just moved to the state I'm in now, and I actually filled it out and put it in my sock drawer. I think I told SP about it, but I'm not sure. But at the time, he had seen something where it's like you could like sow a seed of faith or whatever. So he's like, let's just say we're gonna manifest. So we were kind of on board, even though I was more like law of attraction, law of assumption. We were like, let's just see what will happen. So he did like sowed a seed of faith or whatever at the time. I filled out my little check thingy, and then what I did boldly at the time, and this really works with law of assumption, and so that's why I'm sharing this version of this with you, is that that's when I decided to become an esthetician. So that was 15 years ago. Now, I was delusional enough, and I just felt like my dream and my passion was enough, where I was going to go to the school without any money at the time, because my SP, what he was doing was more seasonal, and we would have the money by the time I was graduating, but I wouldn't have consistent money right away to make monthly payments. And I can't remember what the school was like. School tuition was going to be like $9,000 or $10,000 or $12,000. I kind of forget. It's a while ago. So went to the school and I said, hey, you know what? Like, by the time we're graduating, I'm pretty sure, not 100% sure, pretty sure that we will have the money for this. So that's on the law of assumption. I said, could I possibly make $100 payments throughout this? And at the end, I can only graduate if I pay the difference. So some might say, okay, that's putting a lot of pressure, but I said, why not? Why not? I have some experience with this, and some of the, like, I'm getting results. So I just said, why not? So they said yes. I assumed it. I did esthetician school and I loved it. So here's the important part to know. And as I've been mentioning in my other videos, I didn't wonder like how it was going to happen. I didn't like all these things when in retrospect, the bridge of incidents, you'll again see at the end. But I didn't see all this coming. I just knew I wanted to be an esthetician. I knew I wanted to own my own spa. You know, and I knew that me and SP were on a kick, like, you know, what I just shared, and I fill out my check. So start doing school, and I love it. So what am I thinking about all day? Not the who, what, where, when, how. No, I'm not saying I never thought about it, but I thought I'm going to just stand on the fact that I know that God's source universe provides, that it's always worked out. I don't know how, it's not my job, but I'm just going to go to school and have fun. So that's when all of us are saying, you know, if you don't know how, who, what, where, when, because you don't need to, go have fun. Go to the gym, walk your dog, take a drive, seriously, take a nap, watch a movie. It's not your job. So during this school time, which was, let's say about 8 months, I'm just minding my business, standing on the promises that I know I've been delusional enough to have success, and I'm hoping it's going to work out. I mean, I'm being totally honest with you. I was like, I think it's going to work out, but I'm going with it. It usually does. It actually always has worked out. So I had to kind of go with that. So here is the other part of the story, what happened. And this is crazy. So one day I get a random call from my sister-in-law. And she says, you are not going to believe this. She said, you know, I was out bowling the other night in a bowling league. And I was like, wait, you bowl? Okay. She lives in a smaller town with my brother, kind of in the area we grew up. And so I guess bowling is a thing. I like bowling too. Nothing against it, but this is something I didn't know. And she goes, but you're not going to believe what happened. Now, mind you, I shared, it's a smaller town. So she goes, you know, I was talking to somebody on another bowling league, and they said, they started talking about professions and so on. And, you know, in small towns, it's more like, who are you related to? Who do you know? You're trying to connect the dots. Well, they were trying to do that, and I don't know, I think this gal worked at a hospital, and it somehow came up related to my mom and like a friend of hers of the profession. And the gal said, well, what was your mom's last name, or your mother-in-law's last name? And my mom's last name was very unique, and she just jaw-dropping. She said, wow, we have been looking for the family of this particular woman. Like, this was your mother-in-law, because my mom passed away quite a while ago. And so she said, there is a huge other half of a life insurance policy that we could never find heirs. I think they were looking for a spouse, so my mom did not have one at the time. So it kind of just, the trail went cold. And over bowling, so my sister-in-law said, yeah, like, your brother needs to go fill out some paperwork next week, and they're just going to be sending us, you know, they're going to split it in half and send you each a checkbook for the remainder amount. And I didn't even ask. Like, number one, as we all know, if you've lost somebody, you would rather have the person, right? But so I was like, wow, okay, you know, so you would always rather have, like, I would love to have my mom here, right? But okay, now that she's been gone for quite a while, this is a unique surprise. When I got that checkbook in the mail, and mind you, I didn't lift a finger for this. You heard the whole part, nothing. I just took in this story. Guess how much the checkbook was for the amount? It was like $53,000.25. Mind blown, mind blown, mind blown. And then I ran over to my sock drawer where I had filled up my check. And I was like, holy crap, I did that. So maybe that was like 6 months. So who knows how the universe works? God's our spirit. I can't always explain it, but I do know by enjoying my vision of where I was going, and knowing that and now that I understand quantum physics better, I was also aligning to the version of me where I'm paying for school and paying for some other expenses. And it's kind of like everything kind of just blended together, but the universe figured out that recipe, that formula. I just went, minded my own business, believed that source spirit was going to provide basic, really random recollection of filling out this check. But guess what? I mean, so I got 25 cents or a couple dollars more than the amount, but it was literally that amount. There are people, it's not a coincidence. I manifested it, right? And that's what we have to believe. Like, we are always manifesting. It's just that when something amazing happens, we just kind of look at it like in awe, but we're manifesting with our negative thoughts. I've been through negative periods in my life where I was like, oh man, and then I got a hold of myself. But when we are thinking positive, like, I was loving esthetician school. I was loving so many things. I could remember back to the $1 million cash. I could remember back to other successes. And I was like, no, things are always working out for me. That's why when I'm doing the power of I am in the morning and what I speak over myself, I am not joking, folks. This is powerful. And like I said, you don't need to do 5 million processes. I would highly recommend that you join me on this, because like I said, I did fill mine out in January, and I am excited to see ultimately where the universe goes with it. But you know, it all starts with a vision. And the universe loves specifics. And we'll talk more about that some other time. The what the heck is manifesting anyway video I just posted, I get into that too. Like, the more specific you know what you want, the better. It is. Be very, very specific. So that's why I love this process, because it's very, very specific. Put a dollar amount down. Put it on a vision board, or like me, I put it in a sock drawer, okay? And just know and believe that we are manifesting. You can manifest. Like, we are doing it anyway all the time. You might as well manifest what you love instead of what you don't love. So join me with this because right now, let's see, today is May the 11th, Mother's Day. So what an appropriate day to be posting this in memory of Mom. And just like I said, I'd rather she was here. She was an extraordinary woman, helped create me who I am. However, that was an extraordinary story about how I manifested a large chunk of money, $53,000, I believe it was, using this check. So join me in this, and it says on here, just put your name down in there, the exact amount, and the date. And it says and you can sign it, and then just, see what the universe come back to the video. Let me know. And it could be a week or two from now. It could be months from now. It could be a year or two from now. But if it happens for you, come back and share with us your results. I hope that this has been encouraging today and inspired you to at least contemplate that this process could work for you. I've seen it happen. And even recently, I used some other processes that were less processy-ish for a large chunk again. And that's another story for another day because I don't want this video to be too long. But we are manifestors. We are all actually master manifestors. Choose, be specific about what you are manifesting. Okay, friends? Be specific. This is a fantastic way, easy way to be specific, and then go have fun. Go live your life, dwell on it every now and then. Imagine, like, even Abraham Hicks would say, don't buy the lottery ticket just to be like, oh my God, I got to win the lottery. You don't want to come from need, because if you saw the last video about quantum timelines, you want to get familiar with the version of you on the timeline that has the goodies, has the money. How the universe gets it to you, I don't know. It's not our business. So buy the ticket if it makes you dream. Buy the ticket if it makes you feel good, just dwelling about all the things you could potentially buy. You might inherit the money. You might, who knows? Like, it's a million different things. You may have a friend who wins the lottery and gives you a chunk. It's not your business to figure out how, right? It's just to know what you want, and that's it. So again, not to make this video too long, I'm excited to hear from y'all. Actually, drop a comment if you want to post about what dollar amount you're going for. Like for me, I come from the moving in silence camp of manifesting, so I zip it until I have my results. But I would love to hear from you if you're joining on this, and I can't wait to hear more. I'm excited. There will definitely be a follow-up video at some point on this, and of course, more on money. So, hope this was helpful. Hope that this was encouraging. I hope you join me on this, because like I said, I did this in January, but I was ready to finally post and share my stories with you. So, I don't know where you are in the world today or what you're trying to manifest, but post it below today for the dollar amount. That'd be exciting. We'll all hold a space for you that is already done, it is finished, and that you're on the timeline that's happened. So you got this. So create something wonderful and create something magical. And until the next time, bye.